You are listening to the Awake Athlete Podcast. I'm Jessica Mikowski, endurance athlete and mindset coach, here to share with you perspectives and contemplations from a 10,000-foot view of life. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. What you're going to discover if you're really just diving in and you're making this meditation a non-negotiable and you are paying attention to your life and you're seeing how you move through the world and you're attuning in, like you are communing with that truth of who you are. And that truth is going to be found in that stillness. That's your meditative self, okay? What happens is even from 5 minutes a day, it's, yes, going, I think 15 or 20 minutes a day, even when you're just starting, is a great avenue to go down. But if 5 minutes is all you're willing to do, then 5 minutes is going to be a massive statement that you're making to the ego and your mind. And we're going to get into that ego. I promise you we will. I love that thing so much because the ego is not your enemy. But the ego is not going to be escaped as long as you're in the body. So the learning here that we're doing comes in the form of wisdom. It comes in the form of knowing. So how we've been programmed to learn is that we read a book, we listen to a podcast, we study hard, we take a test, and then we get a number that says if we are smart on the subject or not. And so it's always about input, input, input. Wisdom is about going in and attuning to the information that you already have. Now, what I mean by that is you have the energy that creates worlds at your essence. It's coursing through your veins right now. That energy that creates worlds has all the answers. It's got all the equations. It's got all the strategy for your next race. It's got the wisdom and information around how many calories you need and when you need to eat and when you need to back off and the healing points of your relationship with food, another subject I know we're going to be diving into. And the way that this type of learning works, it's that it's in an instant. And some of you are already doing this, and some of you are already practicing this. And if you're working with me, you know what I'm talking about. You'll be walking the dog, which is really the story I'm going to tell you today. You'll be walking the dog. You'll be shampooing your hair. You'll be out on a run. You'll be in transition during a triathlon. And all of a sudden, you're going to have this download of information where it's not just one thing. It's like you have opened up an entire department of knowledge that you will never forget. So it's a super cool way to learn because it's way less effort and really doing nothing, it opens you up to everything. So one of the things that we do as athletes is we go out to clear our heads, right? Let's face it, right? Like, oh my God, have you ever had a workout that you've come off of and felt worse? No, you always feel more calm-headed or clear-headed. You always have those chemicals being released from the brain. You feel fitter. You feel, there's a part of it that's like you exhaust yourself and it just gives you this excuse to kind of, okay, I'm going to take a hot shower. I'm going to make a cup of tea. Like I got my workout done. So there's this sense of accomplishment, which that gives us, that gives us a little bit of freedom, we believe. But what I had a moment the other day when I was walking Clark. I was in the house and I was doing something. I've been doing a lot with our business lately, changing tax filing status and getting a payroll company and all this real world stuff, which for a yogi is, oh my gosh, it's such an amazing learning process because it's really allowing me to go deeper into what I say is the goal of living here on this earth as an awake athlete is you're living in the world, but not of it. But I gotta do the worldly things. And I think we see this a lot with yogis or people who meditate, like they're ungrounded. And, as a recovering type A perfectionist, super organized, like task-oriented person, being grounded and being like feet, into the ground in this world has never been an issue for me. But taxes and accounting and those things have never been my thing. So I see that expanding the business in this worldly way is one of the things that I'm here to learn. So I was coming up against this brick wall. And one thing I've learned about brick walls is, yes, they are, brick walls are there so we can get to the other side and all of that. But it's not always about pushing through and enduring, and just like, oh, I just need to get this Form 3558 filed or whatever it may be. So I said to Beej, I'm like, I'm going to go for a walk. Like, I'm going to walk away. I've hit a wall. My brain was like, does not compute. I couldn't figure something out and I needed to walk away. So I got Clark and I was like, I'm just going to walk away, get clear, come back. So I get Clark and I start walking and I realize that I'm probably a quarter mile down the road and I'm not even on the walk with Clark. I'm still back in front of my computer and in front of that fucking form trying to figure out what our corporate ID number is or whatever it is that I was trying to figure out in the moment. And I realized that all I did was I took the brick wall. We could also call it the problem. I took the problem with me. And that's not the solution. The solution is never going to be found by ruminating in the problem. And so training our minds is very much about getting ourselves free of this neural looping. So I was in this neural loop, okay? It was like over and over and over. And then, of course, now emotion is coming in like, I'm stupid. I should know how to do this. How are you ever going to build a business? Long story short, the problem was with me. I'm not giving myself to Clark. I'm not present at all. I could have walked out into the middle of an intersection without even noticing if there was any cars. And what I did was I shifted in that moment and I realized like, oh my gosh, whenever I have said, I'm going to go clear my head, I've always brought the problem with me and relied on the workout or the walk to eventually take over and free myself from the problem. But the thing is, when I do that, I'm relying on something else to free me from the problem, as opposed to purposefully putting my awareness on something else. Because if I'm in the problem, I'm in the neural looping, I'm in the feeling about being a stupid business owner, all I'm doing is expanding that. All I'm doing is reinforcing those neural pathways. And there's been so many times I've gone to the pool and I've done this. I've literally swam headfirst into the wall before because I was so in my head. And this is the beauty of training our minds. Number one, we catch ourselves in these neural loopings. None of this was helpful. We recognize that we're in the problem and not in the solution. And when we're in the problem, we are never, ever going to open to the solution. And in that moment, that walk then became a moving meditation, where I brought my awareness to holding the leash. And I brought my awareness to really feeling into Clark as a being, like as a worthy being. Not just my dog that I pull around on a leash who's super cute, but like he matters. He's got work in this world. And nobody gets a free pass. Like he's got stuff to work out here too. And then I would go back into the neural looping and I would feel my feet in my shoes. And I would go back into the neural looping and I would put my awareness on my breath. And all of the emotion that was going along with it, the frustration or, not being good enough, not being smart enough, that emotion was still there. But once I took my awareness off the thoughts that were activated because of that emotion started to dissipate. That emotion started to heal. So I was fully open to feeling that emotion and allowing that to just kind of move through me. But I wasn't participating in the expansion of this emotion and these thoughts that were activated because I was participating in the thinking. I wasn't a victim to the looping. I think this is one of the most beautiful things about a practice of meditation and mindful living is that, number one, you catch yourself in these loops. You catch yourself when you're expanding unworthiness, in this case, like unworthiness or frustration in my life. I caught myself there. And you're in that practice of putting your awareness on what you want, when you want it, and how long you want it there. And so then over time, what happened was, not because the walk exhausted me so much that all of it fell away, but I chose to be in the moment. I chose to be purely in the experience. And when we are purely in an experience, it is impossible for us to be frustrated, unworthy, anxious, overwhelmed, on and on and on. Because presence is having a pure experience independent of the commentary that is looping or activated in the mind. So the next time you go out for your workout and you're doing it in a way of like, I just got to go for my run, or I just got to go for my swim, or I just got to go for my bike, I got to get out of here, I got to clear my head, I challenge you to do it more purposefully as opposed to just waiting and hoping that things are going to subside. So the next time, you get on the bike, feel your feet as they clip in. Feel the absolute instant of the paddle stroke you are in. Focus your mind in the practice of concentration. Allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you're feeling, but your awareness is now on something other than the activated thoughts that are going to expand that pattern in your life. Because whatever it is that your response is to a situation, that's just your program. And this is like remapping the brain, right? So now we are creating neural pathways to pure experience. Experience independent of the commentary in our head. It is freedom. It is power. And it is absolutely where our best performances are living and waiting patiently for us to reach out and allow them to come in. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. It's not too early to get on iTunes and leave a review. Share it with your friends. You guys, I really appreciate the support. I can honestly say I'm just going into this, with the least amount of attachment and expectations. I know the ego is involved here in somewhere, and I'm sure that will be revealed. But I'm really excited to put these messages out into the world, and I am so grateful that you've tuned in. So, peace out.